Hi everyone, thanks for coming down. So what I was going to do as a build-to-rent developer and operator, we were going to talk a little bit about quick snapshot as to who Moda are, and then go into a bit more about our service proposition. So in terms of slides, just a few fun CGIs to look at. So who are Moda? So we conceived the business in 2013. It's a joint venture between two sort of long-standing property families. The reason we conceived it was because we used to do a lot of open market for sale, sort of high-end, high-density resi. And what we found was the units that didn't sell as quickly or off-plan, so your first, second, third floors, perhaps it didn't have as good a view, we would buy them back into the company, put them under a simple renter brand that offered basic concierge and basic cleaning service. And we found that by doing that, we had really high occupancy rates and got really good rental returns. So, you know, fast forward a few years, when we exited that portfolio, we had about 300 or 400 units in the brand. So when people started talking about build to rent coming to the UK, it was a bit of a deja vu moment for us. So we formed Moda. We went out and started acquiring sites, predominantly in the regions, because we knew the model would be bent and flexed initially in London. And we got to a critical mass of about 2,500 units, at which point we decided to team up with Apache Capital, who are our funding partners. We continued to grow the business exponentially, and that's because we had a shared vision of bringing a sort of 4-5-star build-to-rent product into the UK market. So it's much more akin to the American model than maybe the European model. And that's in the sense that we provide all the bells and whistles, as we call them. So health and well-being centres, cinema rooms, media rooms, hotel-style lobbies, indoor-outdoor dining, all the bells and whistles. We get asked quite a lot how we think this will work, and predominantly, you know, we've been there before to an extent. I think the economic conditions are right, and I think fundamentally there's a big culture shift going on in the UK, maybe the biggest since sort of the 1920s, and that's been driven really by technology and the evolution of the sharing economy. The likes of Spotify, Uber, Airbnb, all of those things add together. So how do we identify our resident market and what do we provide them as a service? So a lot of people in the space are sort of focusing on, you know, the millennials, and that's the core target market. We think that's a bit old hat, and, you know, if anything, pretty sick of hearing the word millennial. So we try and model what people's shared values are, and they can be across any age range. So, you know, I know plenty of 30, 40, 50 plus people who are upwardly mobile, they're very technologically savvy, they work long hours, and they still go to the gym and out for dinner and drinks in the city centre, so you shouldn't really exclude them from the proposition. So when we're identifying these values, we came up with sort of 4 keystones of the business, we think, from a service point of view. Connectivity, convenience, community, and transparency. So starting with connectivity and convenience, I think they're the king and queen in this day and age of service. So they've got to form the foundation of your proposition. And for us, that is in the form of a resident app that we're sort of developing, a bespoke app with our partners Live Group. And that, you know, sure, it does all the usual things, pay your rent, report maintenance, speak to the concierge, but we're trying to push it beyond that so that it's a digitally enlivened experience inside and outside the home. And what I mean by that is whilst you've got all the features inside the building, when you're out, you'll be able to use the app to take advantage of partnerships that we're doing with local bars, restaurants and shops to add to the resident experience, get discounts and things like that. And ultimately, quite a big one for us is allowing that app to, you know, via APIs to link into other leading service providing apps like Uber. So we've done the Uber tie-up. And for us, we view our buildings as almost like an iPhone. And those additional service providers, they're the apps within inside it. So moving on to community, you know, the resident experience digitally has got to run serendipitously with the experience of them being in the building. So every different space that we're providing, so your lounges, your chill-out zones, your health and wellbeing centres have got to be connected on super high-speed broadband at all times because you can't drop that connection. Because the idea is that the better the community you can nurture, the better your building will do financially because voids are the enemy here. So the more we can get people to integrate, the better. I think, you know, if you make 5 or more friends in a building, statistically you're 90% more likely to renew your lease. And the way we do that is we sort of, you know, we have fibre to every apartment with a 1 gigabyte capacity. And we have Wi-Fi boosters and routers all throughout the building. Because I think a lot of people ask, do you go wireless or do you not? And I think you've got to cater for both at this stage. You know, we know 5G and the Internet of Things are coming around the corner. So for us, it's very much about providing everything from day one. Finally is transparency, and I think this is fundamental because all relationships, good relationships, start off on trust. And what we're trying to do through technology is allow our residents vision through to the back of house things. So hopefully once it's completed, they'll be able to monitor utilities consumptions and really see that there's no hidden charges, get itemized invoices so there's nothing ever hidden from the consumer. And that, if you can develop that trust into a long-term relationship, then, again, you're combating the voids. Just to sort of summary, I think what we're trying to get across here is that the digital backbone of each building has got to be considered from day one. Before pen touches paper with the architects, that's got to be at the forefront of your mind. Because looking at how fast technology advances and evolves, I mean, from us, once we identify a site through acquisition, planning, procurement, construction, mobilisation, and opening doors, because of the scale of these neighbourhoods, that's usually 4 to 5 years. And if you model technology in 4 to 5 year chunks, Deliveroo, for example, something that we all know and love, or I certainly do, that didn't even exist 5 years ago. So it just goes to show how fast things are changing, which is why you've got to get the infrastructure right from day one.